Isn't it funny how a life-changing event can change the trajectory of your life, forcing an audit of the imbalances and push you into a purposeful direction? Well, that's me. But I'm here to tell you that you don't have to wait to take back control and unlock all the areas of your life you've put on the back burner. Live wholeheartedly and experience joy. Watch your life unfold and blossom into the greatest adventure you've ever had. Welcome to the Anatomy of Life podcast. I'm your host, Lexie, and this is a show for you where every episode is a masterclass of radical conversations and thought processes to help you build your life. We'll learn together, covering those obvious topics like nutrition, health, and physicality to the not so obvious ones like finances and relationships. The voices you hear will be ones just like you and me, as well as insights from renowned experts, making all the overwhelming information we consume easily digestible. This is your free health coaching hub. Let's get unstuck. Welcome back to the Anatomy of Life podcast. I'm your host, Lexie, and by now I'm hoping you've listened to episode 1 and 2, where we dove into the definition of health, what health coaching is, and how health coaches complement various professions. Today, however, we're digging into how health coaching fits into your life, why shift, and quite frankly, what is this shift? Now, you don't necessarily need a health coach by your side every second of the day, especially now that you have this podcast in your pocket. All the information you're going to get from this podcast is going to be things that you innately and primitively know, but have forgotten how to practice. So let's start with the basics. The moment you decided to press play on this episode, you already began the shift. You're opening your mind to new ideas, a new way of thinking, and ultimately, a new way of living. But before we dive deeper, let's explore what this shift is all about. It's not just about making big, drastic changes overnight. It's about being open to the possibility that there's more to your health than you've been taught to believe. So let's take a deep breath together, because sometimes the first step to transformation is simply creating space for a new perspective. Now, a tool that is often used during health coaching sessions is something called the circle of life. And this is used to help identify where there may be imbalances in your life. Now, I want you to picture a circle and then divide that circle into 12 areas, or what I like to call slices. Now, each slice represents the most important aspects of your life. And these areas include everything from relationships, career, home environment, spirituality, finances, and even your creativity. So what I'll do is I'm going to pop a visual of this circle of life on the Instagram page. Now, the 12 slices can be categorized even further into primary and secondary food. Now, that may be categories that you've never heard of before. And yes, I did say food. So let's talk about the differences between primary and secondary food. Often when we hear the word food, we think of what's on our plate, correct? Like you think what I'm eating, food that you consume and eat. But if you look up the definition of food on Wikipedia, it's described as any substance consumed by an organism for nutritional support. I'm going to repeat that. It's described as any substance consumed by an organism for nutritional support. And as health coaches, we believe that the food you consume goes far beyond just what you eat. And this is known as your primary food. It's all about who you spend your time with, what you listen to, what you read, and how you talk to yourself. It even extends to things like your career, your finances, and believe it or not, your home environment. These are the core ingredients that fuel your life far beyond physical nutrition or physical nourishment. And it's basically all those areas of life that aren't on your plate, but they feed your soul. It's the stuff that keeps you energized and fulfilled on a deeper level. They fill you up, or if you neglect them, they're going to leave you feeling depleted. Now take a minute and think about it. How do you feel after spending time with certain people? Do you feel energized? Do you feel depleted? Do certain conversations lift you up, or do they drain you? What about the content that you're consuming?
Is the information you feed in your brain serving you? Or is it leaving you feeling anxious or overwhelmed? Maybe it's making you feel undervalued. Do you enjoy your job? And does your career fulfill you? Are you excited to get up in the morning and go to work? Let me share something a little personal. It's an example from my own life. And there was a time when I completely felt drained by my work and my work environment. But now, I was eating perfect. So even though my diet was, in inverted commas, perfect, I was eating well and exercising and doing all the things, but I still felt exhausted and quite unhappy. And it wasn't until I realized that my career, the work I was doing every day, was misaligned with my values, that I made the shift. And let me tell you that once I started working on my career, it was like my energy returned overnight. My food didn't change, as in the food that I was eating didn't change, but my soul felt nourished, and I just felt a sense of belonging again. Now, I want to revisit something that we talked about in episode 1. And if you haven't listened to it yet, go have a quick listen and then come back to this episode. And in episode 1, we touched on something where we defined what health was. And we know that the World Health Organization says that health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. And it's not merely the absence of disease. That, to me, is a powerful definition, isn't it? It reminds us that health is about more than just not being sick. It's about thriving physically, mentally, emotionally, and socially. Let's reflect on that for a moment. If we're talking about complete well-being, then doesn't it make sense that the health of our relationships and the health of our careers and even the health of our home environment play a huge role in how we feel day to day? Think about how you feel when your social life is thriving or when your work feels fulfilling. It's all connected. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about secondary food. Now this is the food that you traditionally think of as, well, food. It's what's on your plate. It's the nutrition you consume physically or home cooking or healthy meals and the obvious, staying active and exercising. Now just like primary food, this is important too. But here's the key. You could be eating the most nutrition meals in the world, yet if your primary food is out of balance, if your career or your relationships aren't feeding you, you're not going to feel fulfilled or feel truly healthy. And this is where the circle of life I mentioned comes into play. Each of these areas requires a certain level of attention to keep us balanced. And yes, health itself is one of those slices, both in your primary food and in your secondary food. When you think about the circle of life, which slice stands out as the most in need of attention for you right now? And why do you think that is? What might be helpful, and maybe you could think about doing this, is grab a journal and jot these questions down. You could pause, you can rewind, you can go back to the questions and reflect on your answers. And if you feel brave enough, I would love it if you could please share it once you see the interactive stories go up on the Instagram page. Just have a look at it. Think it through, digest it, answer the questions, and you may see some shifts that you can do already in that very moment. And I want you to remember that health looks different for everyone. There is no one size fits all. That formula has gone out the window because you are a bio individual. Your path to health will look very different from anyone else's, including your family. Now, here's the question. Why shift? And this is because you should start nourishing yourself both physically and emotionally to create a life that feels balanced, purposeful, and vibrant, so that you're no longer living for the weekend or feeling like you need a vacation from your own life. And that's the magic of health coaching. It helps you create sustainable changes that align with your unique needs and your values. But let's pause here for a second. Grab that journal if you have one, or even just a piece of paper that you can transfer into a journal, and answer the following. What small change could you make today to bring one area of your life more into balance? And for example, maybe it's something as simple as calling a friend you haven't spoken to in a while, or taking a 10-minute walk outside to clear your mind. Every small step counts, and that's when you feel truly alive. This shift is about creating a life that feels aligned with not only who you are, but what you need. As we continue in future episodes, we'll explore how to make small sustainable shifts in each of these areas. And I'm hoping to interview a few experts in their fields to help us find solutions. Start a little exercise by answering the questions that were posed earlier in this episode, as well as answering the following. So you can pause again, you can rewind and just jot these questions down. If you could make one small shift in your life today, what would it be? And how do you think that shift would impact your well-being as a whole? Perhaps think about one area of your life at a time outside of your diet that you think contributes the most to your overall happiness and health. I hope that today's episode has helped you see that health is so much more than what's on your plate. It's about creating that balance in all the areas of your life. There is no magic formula because each of us is unique. You need to find the balance that works for you. So I want to say thank you so much for listening. And if you found this episode helpful, please subscribe, leave a review, and connect with me on social media. I want to keep this conversation going and build a life that you don't need a vacation from.